Okay, call this Village of Greenhills Council meeting for October 26, 2021 to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Halter?
Here.
Ms. Hermes?
Here.
Mr. Lee?
Here.
Ms. Metz?
Here.
Ms. Osmonoglu?
Here.
Ms. Walter?
Here.
And Mayor Moore.
Here. Okay, we have a prayer by Maria Walter.
God, we pray for peace in the world. We thank you for people who stand for truth and which is right. Give your blessings, Lord, to our veterans who have given so much for our freedom. Remember those who have given the supreme sacrifice, for we pray that they will never be forgotten. Be with us, and we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to modify the agenda to add an executive session at the end to discuss the compensation for village personnel.
Second.
And do we poll?
You can just do an all in favor,
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
and then
do
you,
that?
when we get to that point, you'll take a roll call
Yeah.
to go into executive session.
All right. Okay, and we have the minutes of previous council meeting of September 28th. Anybody have any corrections? If not, minutes stand approved. All right, minutes are approved. We have no public presentations this evening. Residents, this is a time for citizens to comment on matters before council. When recognized, please come forward to the lectern, give your name and address, then state your comments or questions. This is not intended to be a dialogue with council or village staff. If you have questions, the questions will be recorded and referred to the manager's office for response. This will allow time for thoughtful and thorough consideration to be given to each question. Council meetings are recorded for ease of transcriptions. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Speakers may not yield any or all of their time to other speakers.
I always like being first. Good evening, everybody. My first question is, how many county commissioners are there? Three? And does the village interact with any of the county commissioners? We have in the past. Do we work on any kind of bills or anything with the commissioners?
No.
No? Okay. All right. The second question I have is the village own the property behind the Legion over there where their sign is that says "Do not enter"? Is that village property?
There's some village property.
Right,
Some of it's not.
The street, what looks like a street there, that's actually privately owned.
And
So that's a little strange. And then we own the green space along in there.
so that gravel pathway that comes into the Legion's parking lot is ours.
It's all of that. I believe it is all ours, yes.
But not the street that connects to that gravel lot.
Is private?
That's
Does that
private.
belong to those two people on the side?
No, it actually belongs to the person who owns the American Legion building.
Oh, he owns it, oh. But the property per se is ours. So one of the reasons I'm asking about that is because, of course, you know, I have a golf cart and several other people have golf carts and we use that to come up here. And we've had the stump or the log, whatever, move so we could get through. And someone in the Legion actually put gravel down so that, you know, it's level and stuff. And I was just trying to think if there was a possibility that the village could kind of clean that space up. We do such a great job with the rest of the village, but we kind of don't do anything with that. And I was just thought that would be kind of nice if the village had the possibility of cleaning that area up. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? All right, move. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Pat Andwan. I'm an active candidate for one of your seats coming up November 2nd. I invite people to go to my web pages on Facebook. They are Patty Ann Bond for Greenhills Council, and the other one has public records on it from the village that shows years and years of mismanagement. It's called Greenhills on the record. It includes both ethics complaints that have been filed on the personnel here, and also management letters that list over and over non-compliances. This is called the Ohio Sunshine Law Book. Elected officials are required to attend these sessions to learn about this every 4 years in their term. One of the management letters said that in 2017 and 18, none of you people, including Mr. Forbes, had attended those meetings. Perhaps that explains your behavior over time.
Right here.
Yep,
Right
I
now, we've
attended
got-
when I first joined.
We've got, in this book, it says discussions. My question would be for Jeff Forbes, Mr. Forbes, the
December 2018.
law director. I've mentioned before that executive session breakouts need to have a detailed explanation. And if you discuss an executive session, is it confidential by law or by choice?
Executive session
Right.
is confidential.
Okay, now, let's read this. Discussions in executive session are not automatically confidential, but other confidentiality rules may apply. Public records considered in the executive session may be accessible through a Public Records Act. The public body may not vote or make any decisions in executive session. I just want to clear that up because it seems many in the public are concerned that you guys pull rabbits out of the hat without any notice to the public, and they're tired of it.
I do not believe it was unclear.
I've been paying real estate tax in the village of Greenhills since 1976. I've paid my full boat. There are people who graciously had exceptions that Mr. Moore and Catherine Brokaw put in place back in 2000 that altered our valuations. All of the S homes had a ground valuation played at $40,000, which skewed all of these properties and made them set up for a taking under eminent domain, and John McDaniel was on council and even admitted it. My home went up in value in 2017, despite the fact that you folks voted to tear down my entire neighborhood.
Okay, your time
That
is
same
up. Thank
year,
you, Ms.
I filed
Anwan.
with the Board of
Your time is
Revision.
up, thank you.
And the village
Take your
blew
seat, Ms. Anwan.
taxpayer money to
Take your
defend
seat, please.
Dave Moore.
Take your seat, please. Thank you.
Conflict of interest.
You don't know what you're talking about. All right.
Ms. Antoine, by the way, Natasha Metz and I did our sunshine training in 2020. You can look it up.
I also,
Okay, enough. Let's
I also did mine in
stop.
2018.
Everybody stop. We're not having any more discussion with Ms. Anwan. All right, continuing on. Reports of village officials, Municipal Manager Yvonne Kovac.
Thank you, Mayor. I have just a couple of things I wanted to report. First, I think it was at the previous council when Ms. Booker had talked about the light at June Field and Sharon. That light has been ordered. We don't know schedule-wise when they're going to put that up. It's Duke, and they kind of work on their own schedule. But it should appear. It's been paid for, so hopefully that'll work out good.
Well, remind me, we paid for it.
Right, we paid for
Forest
it.
Park had to agree to it.
Correct. It is actually a Forest Park light, but we paid for the upgrade to get it brighter there. I think the other thing I want to spend a little time on is just mentioning some of our code enforcement efforts, because we have had a lot go on in the last few months, and we've had some really big successes. There was one property over on Funston that we actually took to court. The village won that court case, and we were able to clean that property up. That occurred in the last month. There's a property on Cromwell that was one of our major code enforcement cases that the property owner has cleaned that, painted that facility. It looks really nice, quite a difference. And we have a property on Gambier that's been an issue for quite a while, and working with the Board of Health, that property's been condemned. And they have a certain period of time to clean that up as well. So I just wanted to make you aware of some of those. There are instances like that all over the village. I'm feeling really good about this. And I'll stop there.
Okay. And the chief just informed me that we did have one other person that wanted to speak,
Oh, okay.
but do we need to revert back?
You can just go back to that.
Okay, all right.
Sorry about that. I didn't know if that was the last call or not. I missed out. I'm kind of new to the council here, so.
Okay.
Well, welcome.
Okay, on a lighter note here. Hi. Good evening, Mayor. I wrote this because I've been told I'm long-winded, so I'm going to try to read off of here to keep it under my 3 minutes.
What's your name?
My name is Bob, and I'm the Code Enforcement Officer for Greenhills.
God.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I've never showed up in councils, because I've heard the disruption here, and I thought maybe I'd go ahead and reach out anyway, so here I am. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak for a few minutes. My name is Bob, and I'm the Greenhills Code Enforcement Officer. I regret that many of you have never had the opportunity to formally meet me, and I felt inclined to come tonight and not only introduce myself, but provide you a little information on the efforts that have been made since I started in mid-March. I'd like to start by acknowledging and thanking a few people first. First, I'd like to acknowledge Chief Fertelman. Initially, he contacted me about this position and gave me the opportunity to apply. I'm retired from law enforcement for nearly 30 years and worked for 5 different police departments. I've never had the opportunity to work with a more dedicated and compassionate person such as himself. The village certainly is in good hands. He exemplifies the public relations that goes on in Greenhills. I'm sorry, I guess I'm a little nervous here. So I do appreciate everything he's done here, and he gets a lot done. Yvonne, my manager, has given me the chance to try and help better this community by reaching out to residents and have them maintain their homes in the standard that Greenhills is known for. The one thing I know for sure about Yvonne is she's extremely compassionate also about her position and trying to keep Greenhills beautiful. We've turned around quite a few properties that had some issues here in Greenhills, working with the owners, and made a big difference. But not last but least, the mayor for being so proactive in passing on issues that may arise and being supportive of what I'm doing, and I appreciate that. Quick summary of statistics to date my efforts here so far in Greenhills. Since taking this role in code enforcement, these numbers are provided by Vanessa, which is the secretary for Yvonne. She's been very instrumental, as well as Brenda, as far as getting things done here, so they're very good support staff. We have about 460 cases that we've opened since I started working here in March. They've it could be anything from grass being cut to painting of homes, etc. I received these complaints not only from residents calling in, also from the mayor, council, on occasion calls as well when they have an issue, as well as me being proactive out there looking for issues that are in the village. We've closed approximately 304 cases since I've been here, as far as getting them to take care of the issues that have been addressed. 476 of those follow-ups have been conducted, in which I personally either reached out to residents by phone, stopped at their house, and actually talked to them and try to get them, rather than citing everybody in court. I was told by the magistrate that that I could have cited people more than I did. I've got kind of a different philosophy, and most of what I was looking for before was community-oriented policing, which the chief is well at. I couldn't get that out before. Most of my career has been in that line of work. So I find that just reasoning with people and talking to people here in Greenhills, I can get a lot accomplished without threatening for cites. So it's worked out real well since I've been here. And this is all done on 2 days, 10 hours a week. So that's what I do, and usually Monday through Friday, 5 hours a day. So I'm out there, boots on the ground. I'm trying to make a big difference out there. I'm honored to have the opportunity to serve for Greenhills in this capacity and hope to continue to make improvements. And without patting myself on the back, I do want to say one other thing. Is when sometimes instead of citing somebody or putting a warning on the door for if I see a trash can out on Friday when I work, sometimes I'll roll it back in. I know where they live, and I'll put it back. I had occasion back about a month ago where I put the trash can back where it was supposed to be. I heard what sounded to me like somebody in distress. So I waited a little bit. I ended up making a phone call to the owner. The owner contacted the granddaughter. It turns out this man fell inside the kitchen and was laying on the floor. God knows how long. She came in. We called the life squad and was able to get him to safety. So this is the kind of thing that the code enforcement officer is doing, and I'm proud to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob.
All right. Do you have any more?
No, sir.
Okay. Law Director Jeff Forbes.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to report tonight.
Clerk of Council Tanya Kohler.
No report.
Chief of Police Neil Furdham.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Two things I wanted to mention in addition to my report was I wanted to go through a little bit on littering. We periodically get complaints on littering, and those that are maybe listening at home, the best thing that you can do is be our eyes and ears when you see one of these offenses. The easiest way for us to track that down is through the use of a license number. So if somebody reports that littering, litterers often don't litter right in the presence of this uniform or a black and white cruiser, but they'll do it when they don't see one. So those that are able to observe that, get us a good description, and even in today's age, get a picture. That is just really beneficial to us making a successful prosecution of a littering offense. The other thing is the issuance of a citation. An unanswered citation can result in a warrant. With today's technology, those warrants often are entered in countywide. Oftentimes, they'll show up when a plate goes by, an automatic license plate reader on any cruiser throughout Hamilton County. So the citation is important because when a citation is issued, there's a court date on the bottom of every citation. And the court date will tell you, you have until that time, if you wish to pay it out, it can be paid out, or if you wish to appeal the citation in court, you can come and enter a plea. So those are important. That's an important date that's on the citation. It's when a person is given a citation, it's not as if they go scot-free. They have to answer on their day in court. They either have to enter the plea and plead not guilty, or they can, if they don't want to contest the citation, pay it out ahead of time. And oftentimes those court dates are set up several weeks ahead of time. So that's essentially how the citation will work. And the wheels of justice, as Ms. Hermes or Mr. Forbes will tell you, don't always move the fastest. Sometimes things are continued, sometimes at the request of lawyers, sometimes at the request of the person who's cited. So it may be a month, sometimes 2 months, and even longer in more important cases that a citation is actually answered. And the same is true with an arrest charge. So there is sometimes frustration that the system doesn't move faster. We share that frustration, but it eventually does work. The best description of our criminal justice system that I've ever heard was in college when it was described as it's the worst system that there is, except for all the others. And that's probably true. Works a whole lot different in other nations such as China and other places. It's about as good as it can be, and we try to give people as much information as we can when they have questions about it. On to my report for the specifics of the past month. On October 7th, we received a correspondence from a resident in our J section. And she said, "Hello, my name is Kayla. I live in the J section. A few months ago, Officer Mayberry drove down our street and saw our kids playing outside. He got out of his cruiser and introduced himself and spent some time playing with the kids. Over the course of the last few months, if he saw him outside, he'd stop and talk. Officer Young, who was in the area, did the same thing, introduced himself, and they ended up chatting, and while they were chatting, the 2-year-old had a scooter who broke. So Officer Mayberry and Officer Young teamed up and bought Ilea a new scooter and presented it to her on her birthday, which happened to be a couple of weeks later. And the note that we got from the mom was that Officer Mayberry and Officer Young are exceptional police officers who go above and beyond their job duties. It's so nice to have officers patrolling our neighborhood that we can count on and that we trust and that our girls admire. Thank you both again so much." And those officers were commended internally for their compassion that they showed. We had another situation that could have been far more serious. Officers Young and Moore responded to a residence in the I section There was a distraught person there, had locked himself in his room. He was threatening to commit suicide with a gun in the residence. It was a bad combination of medication and intoxication. He had a sniper rifle, a long gun. He'd recently lost his job and knew he was going to be forced out of the home. Officer Young took it upon himself to initiate telephone contact, talked to the young man for about 30 minutes and persuaded him to come out. The officers took a tactical position behind where the young man came out and were able to get with him, get him medical transportation down to the University of Cincinnati Hospital for treatment, and safely were able to take some liquor bottles, a knife, a machete, and a long gun. They were commended internally. What I told them was the situation was resolved calmly, safely, and with empathy. Handled differently, this could have been a barricaded subject in a SWAT call-out. You are commended for your calm and professional handling of this situation. This could have been a much different outcome if not handled as carefully as you did. We do continually train. One of the trainings that we did was in this room on October 7th. We trained all Greenhills Municipal employees on active shooter training. This is the same training that we provide to the teachers, faculty, and staff in our schools so that they know what we're going to do and what to expect in a potentially violent situation. In addition to that, Officers Holbrook, Braun, Mayberry, Young, and Francis were all certified as Intoxilizer 8000 officers. Officer Holbrook received defensive tactics training at Great Oaks Vocational School in September, and this training also included the ASP baton. We apparently have gone into the tire and auto service business. While on patrol on September 26th, Officer Francis, who's seated in the back corner, observed two vehicles with their hazard lights on. He stopped to assist them at Winton and Cromwell. The officer was greeted by a motorist who said that another motorist had a flat tire and they were trying to figure out how to change it. He and Officer David Bacon assisted by removing the tire and installing a spare. And then a couple weeks later, Officer Holbrook and Braun changed the tire for a motorist that pulled into our parking lot with a flat tire. That motorist called Lieutenant Ward on October 21st to tell her about those awesome police officers who went above and beyond the call of duty after every other motorist passed her by. She said the officers had to take out all of her kids' sport equipment to reach the spare and even had to lay on the ground while changing the tire. And she concluded by telling us that our officers were the greatest and we were lucky to have them, and we agree. We participated in a new venture for the Greenhills Baptist Church this past Sunday. They called it Trunk or Treat. Children were invited to come to the church and they received treats. Officer Francis was there along with Officer Braun and Sergeant Patton, and they participated in helping the kids there. We want to remind everyone that's watching that our trick or treat here in Greenhills will be Sunday, October 31st from 6 until 8 p.m. We ask parents to try and go with their little ghosts and goblins, make sure that they wear bright clothing and have flashlights or other devices such as reflectors that enable them to be easily seen. We had a successful drug take-back day at the same time that we had the council retreat going. On that day, we were able to take back 40 pounds of unused medication from our residents, and those have been taken to the DEA for incineration. One of the things that we posted on our website, we have Officer Young, who has a background in technology, and he is interested in assisting on our website. He compiled a list of how to protect your packages from being stolen with the upcoming holidays, and a lot of people still ordering online, so we would urge folks to take a look at our website and see those tips. We participated in a very busy Harvest Fest that was quite successful, and we posted both some pictures and videos that you can find on our website of that event. Recapitalizing the past month, during the month of September, the department made 18 criminal arrests, including charges for obstructing official business, domestic violence, failure to appear, driving under the influence, open container, drug possession, and theft. We responded to 210 incidents, including 43 squad runs, 13 parking complaints, 11 domestics, 8 lockouts, 8 intrusion alarms, 6 trouble runs, and 6 attempts to locate. We provided mutual aid in 20 instances. We issued 53 traffic citations, 47 warnings, and investigated 10 traffic crashes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions of the chief?
Good job.
Yeah,
Good
keep
job.
up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, my report, I have Mayor's Court numbers. The state of Ohio received from Citation fines $874.50, Hamilton County $31.50, and the Village of Greenhills $3,695.30. Also, I'd like to make a comment on the question that came up here about property values and assessments, and those assessments are not done by the village, but they're done by the county auditor's office. And back in the 2000s, when the village owned properties, I had a graduate student, a young lady from UC, working on a master's degree for public administration, working for me. And we observed in some of the units that the village owned that were identical units, property evaluations for the units anywhere from $20-some thousand to $65,000 for the same basic identical kind of unit. And so we looked at a number of other properties that were owned by other people and saw this vast disparity in numbers. And so she put together a list of these properties, and we sent it to the county auditor's office and said, you should look at these things, you know, something's gone wrong with your appraisal company in appraising these properties. And so the county auditor's office did look at them. We were not happy with the results that came up with it, because their way to fix it is they charged everybody $40,000 per parcel based on the land, which didn't bring anything into equalness. And their comment back to us, well, that's the way it is, and in the next appraisal it will come around. So that's what had happened back in that time period. And generally, the county, you know, hires a company and appraises people's properties, and if a person doesn't like their appraisal, they can appeal it. In the case of Miss Anwan, she appealed hers, and she didn't like some other people's properties, 80-some people, and so she appealed theirs. And I think they did reduce her taxes, but didn't make any changes to the other partners. Okay, so that's all I have. Committee reports, Intergovernmental Affairs, Laws and Rules, Maria Walther.
We have not met for lack of agenda. We cover anything and everything that was involved with that on the retreat, and there was no need to re-meet for that, so the meeting for today was canceled.
Okay. Recreation, Cable Television, Natasha Metz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do just want to touch on Harvest Fest, which was amazing this year. We expected only about 200 people, maybe, what with the decreased time limit and everything. And we were estimating we had probably 500 or more people. We had a food truck there that completely sold out. We had a band there that did an amazing job. The Chalk the Walk was a great event. We did get some feedback, and we're going to move the location for that so that we can actually use the sidewalk. So we had a great turnout, got rid of all of the pumpkins that were there for the kids. It was just great. Everybody had so much fun walking around talking to vendors. They're excited for next year. So we're just hoping to grow and make it even better. So that was great, and it was really inspiring this year. Light Up Greenhills is around the corner. We've started working on that. I do want to mention to Yvonne that little library at the park, at the playground back there, I don't know if the Girl Scouts have a plan to maintain it or not, but the bottom edge of the door, the wood has been, it's gone, and so it kind of poses a little hazard. Okay, if kids were to reach it, they might cut their hands or something. So I don't know if you could have Mike take a look at that.
Sure.
And then our most recent meeting at For recreation, we did talk about things to consider in the future, like continuing with the movie events, expanding and doing some other events, but also some more like capital expenditures, like looking at additions to parks. You know, now that I'm the mother of a toddler, I realize that like a lot of the playgrounds are not very toddler specific or toddler safe. So there's not a lot of things that she can do, and so we end up going to other parks in the area, which is where we came up with the idea for the splash pad and maybe doing some more toddler specific playground equipment. So that's like very far off, but it's still something that we're putting on the book to talk about. So ideas like that are coming around. If anybody has any ideas for things they'd like to see, everything is open, so bring it up and we'll get moving on it. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Else, community, Jennifer, Service and Streets, Ms. Mr. Jennifer
you.
Osmanagaloo.
I have no report at this time. However, I would like to thank the maintenance department for their continued efforts to keep our streets nice and clean. And I saw a leaf truck today, so we're in that season. So if you need to get your leaves out, get them out because they're picking them up. Thank you.
Okay, Community Development, Jeff Halder.
Yes, just a couple of things. I noticed in Evendale, around their swimming pool, they have a photography contest. I've taken photos, I'll share those with you. I thought it was pretty interesting. It was attractive and well done. Possibly it fits more in recreation than community development, but
We can join it.
We'll talk about it. And then the next round of beautification awards will be selected this week, and we thank those that have submitted. I think it's been a very good thing. I want to thank Natasha again for that idea. I think it was a good thing that really people are excited about and proud, especially when they work so hard to keep their properties so nicely. So that concludes my report.
Can I piggy on that, something? I just want to, I know Bob ended up having to leave, understand why, but I just want to make sure that he knows that we appreciate all the efforts he's done. We've seen a lot of improvement and some things of really moving forward, so he's done a lot in the short time that he's been with us, so
And
thank
it is a
you.
very
Thank you
tough
very
job.
much. It is a very tough job.
Okay, moving on, Safety, Melanie Hermes.
We did not meet today due to lack of agenda items. If you do have an agenda item that you would like to bring in front of the Safety Committee, just email Hermes@greenhillsohio.org, and we will put it in for discussion. And also, thank you to the police. You have a good crew, and I think it comes from good leadership, so thank you.
And to piggyback on that, thank you, Chief, for putting the speed sign just to right after Hadley on Farragut. We do notice people slowing down a little bit more. There's a mass exodus from the school, and sometimes it's more of a race. And thanks to Mike Pastor's group for putting that up, because I think it is having an effect.
Thank you.
All right, Finance and Audit, Jack Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to thank Deb Heimer for her in-depth review as far as fund balances on Saturday at the retreat. I think it was really informative. It kind of brought a lot of things in focus as we go into the end of the year. At your places tonight are the fund recaps for the month of September. Actually, the September 2021 income tax receipts are pretty much normal, but in comparison to where they were last year when construction was in full swing, it does look a little punish, but it is where it needs to be. Overall fund balance, we're ahead this year with a fund balance at the end of September at $1,844,348.12. To date, at the end of September, there are no changes in transfers. Expenses are still running behind last year. Staff pinches those pennies, and the There will be a small change to the general fund tonight in the appropriations and upcoming resolution. Unless anyone has questions, that's the end of my report.
Okay. And actually, before we jump into further, I did have a question from Yvonne's report and forgot to ask. How many months was it in process to accomplish what we accomplished over in Funkston, where the person that we ended up having to take to court to clean the place up?
It started in January, but we went through our zoning notifications that we have to go through with various timeframes, and I think we probably filed the suit in July. It actually went pretty quick. And then we did our cleanup in October. I think it was like early in October.
So January to October is very quick in this process.
That's very quick. Yes.
So
I would say,
Just-
wouldn't you? It's very
Yeah.
quick, so.
So the wheels of government, and it's not necessarily our wheels, move
Oh, right,
slow.
that's the court.
It's once it gets into
Right,
the
that
court
was the court
system,
system.
that it moves very slow. All right, there's no unfinished business. New business, we have resolution number 2021-23-F, resolution making supplemental appropriations and transfers. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 2021-23F, resolution making supplemental appropriations and transfers. Whereas the 2021 annual appropriations that were adopted on December 8, 2020 are to be amended. And whereas appropriations must not exceed total available resources of the village per Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.36A5. Therefore, an amended certificate of estimated resources has been requested from the County Budget Commission. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the Village, Greenhills, Ohio, Section 1, since certain actions are needed in the monies appropriated so to permit the Village of Greenhills to meet its fiscal obligations for the year 2021, the following items of expenditure are to be supplemented with the appropriations for expenditure for the year 2021. Fund description. General Fund, account 1,000. Initial appropriation was $2,163,600. Change $5,000. New total $2,168,600. Corona Relief Fund, account 2151. Original appropriation, $100. Change, $3,134.85. New total is $3,234.85. Fund description. Swimming pool, account 2909. Original appropriation was $176,000 even. Change was an additional $20,000 for a new total of $196,000. Section 2, that the following transfers of funds be made from the previously appropriated monies. There's no change there. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect and be in full force from and after the earliest date allowed by law. Mr. Mayor, I move for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, clerk call the poll of the council.
Ms. Hermes?
Aye.
Ms. Metz?
Aye.
Mrs. Montague?
Aye.
Mr. Halter?
Aye.
Ms. Walter? Aye. And Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Okay, resolution number 2021-23-F, resolution making supplemental appropriations and transfers passes. Okay, we have no other things. Do we have some calendar items?
I just
Like
want to
Halloween?
reiterate what the chief said. Halloween is on Sunday, trick or treat night on Halloween, Sunday, October 31st, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Turn your lights on if you have candy, turn them off if you don't, just so kids know, and their parents.
I want to remind everybody, 11/11 at 11, the Commons, our veterans from the food that we have here in Greenhills. So I'm going to have a memorial service, include the gun salute and taps. And I think it's a very appropriate time that we seize whatever we have been doing and come over and think a few minutes that it will take to do that of their sacrifice and their ultimate sacrifice of those that have died in combat for us to be free. So I wish to see a really large number of us citizens here of Greenhills to pay our respects. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Do you want to make a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing compensation for village personnel.
Second.
Clerk, poll the council.
Ms. Hermes?
Aye.
Ms. Metz?
Aye.
Ms. Walter? Mrs. Monagle?
Aye.
Mr. Halter?
Aye.
And Mr. Lee?
Aye.
And we'll have just a short break for the, there'll be nothing, no action after that. We'll adjourn after the executive session, take a short break for the Waycraft Cross person to collect the microphones and things. Do the meeting.